All right, so recently I came across this incredible piece of contemporary literature that I decided that I need to sit down and analyze because it's just so influential. That's right, it's a DeviantArt post called Why I Hate Weird Lalaloopsy and Why You Should Too. And this is just an absolute beast of fiction, so let's hop right into the analysis. So, right off the bat, the author, the real LDT, starts off with some insane philosophy. Now, realistically, there's three types of media: media that appeals to all, media that appeals to boy, and media that appeals to girls. Usually boys like boy stuff and girls like girl stuff. Well, screw that, because welcome to 2025. That's right, I'm a boy who likes Lalaloopsy. Yeah, and with that insane countercultural start, he pretty much then just goes on to explain the background of Lalaloopsy. And in case you're not a super Lalaloopsy fan like me and the real LDT, I'm gonna just go for a quick review. It's pretty much a doll series, these little patchwork things. But the important thing is that they got their show on Nick Jr. at some point, and it was like a pretty solid show. And then later down the line, they end up getting in a Netflix show, and that is the subject of the review. So the question is obviously, does he like the show? And in this opening passage, he makes it as clear as possible that no, this show is absolute garbage. It's absolute crap. It's completely unwatchable. Anyone who likes it has Garden of Banban virus, apparently. So that's really what kind of opinion we're working with for the rest of the review. In fact, to highlight his position on this, he goes over the positives, and as you can see, it's like 2 paragraphs. And yeah, don't get too used to that because he's definitely going to go way harder on all the negatives. I like the part where he's like, "You comfortable? Good." Because that's where all the main positives end. Because, yeah, that's literally the only nice things he says about it, the entire analysis. Right. So, in the interest of time, I'm not going to go over literally every section, but I'm just going to go over kind of little key points. So, this part is talking about the style, and he breaks it down character by character. Of course, all these characters, everyone knows Jewel, Sparkles, Crumbs, Sugar, Cookie, Spot, Splatter, Splash. That's a pretty hard word to name. Yeah, so I'm going to give my opinion on the end of whether I agree with this, but for now we'll just go character by character and I'll show you little images of whether they change or not. Yeah, so apparently Jewel Sparkles, not much of a change, a little bit more simple and bland, but yeah. Here on the left is the Nick Jr. design, on the right is the Netflix design. I don't know much to say on it. Honestly, she looks similar enough other than the gold on the crown, which, yeah, I mean, maybe that's a little too much, but not the worst. So this one, I see the point, but anyways, moving on. Yeah, so next is Crumb's Sugar Cookie. All things considered, apparently her design was simplified. But bro, they gave her the same small dinky shoes everyone else has. Now, you're probably thinking, why is he complaining about this? Bro, peep the fit on the left. That is hella icy. On the right, I mean, you can't even see the shoes, but I don't know. Just trust them. Apparently, they're worse. So, definitely massive downgrade on this one. Leave that up, bro, because what the hell did they do to Spot, Splatter, Splash? She got done the actual worst, dog. What even is in her hair? Like, what's going on there? They put a whole, like, massive bow and, like, fun day, freaking party hat. Like, nah, that's just way too much, bro. I mean, like, come on, look at the left. She just has regular yellow hair, and they decided to give her, like, all that. For what, bro? For what? Yeah, I mean, come on. Even DLT agrees with me here. Like, bro, all the confetti and whatever the hell it is makes her look so goofy. She looks like a Dr. Seuss character. And yeah, that's kind of facts. But you can even see in that second paragraph, the only decent design is Storm E, as in Stormy Sky. And even then, that's only because she's an original character. Yeah, so that's some massive foreshadowing. You'll get to know all about Stormy Sky later on in this rant. But that's just a little snippet that he sneaks in there for people that already know what's coming. Yeah, but back to the analysis. This entire section is talking about the story, and as usual, he's saying it's terrible. I think this middle paragraph actually sums it up pretty well, but just so we're all on the same page, this character right here is Stormy Sky. This is important information. She likes guitar and stuff. But yeah, but at least then making up involves good writing, right? No, my dear friends, the writing sucks. A lot, actually. I'm not joking. The rivalry only gets resolved because Stormy wants to leave and everyone's like, no, don't leave. And then she's all like, okay. And then she makes up with Jewel. Yeah, and then there's some high-level imagery in the next section criticizing the writing and parodying it to AI. And you can kind of even like visualize it. That's how masterful the writing is here. And once again, back to the philosophy, this time on the nature of children and children's intelligence. You could argue this is just comedy, but here's the problem: the humor. It's not funny. I laughed more at the original, and that was meant for preschoolers. Hell, showing where Lalaloopsy to a preschooler would be an insult to their intelligence. Yeah, quite a scathing remark there, but honestly, that's just where he's willing to go. There is no limits with this author. Yeah, and he just goes on and on and on. I mean, the characters, apparently this dude Ace is only here for the girls to ogle over. Yeah, but dude, there's just so many sections. I mean, this is insane. Then he talks about the voice cast and something, getting Chris Pratt to voice a rock. I guess it's a waste. I don't know. Then the songs apparently are bad too. Something, Talking Lizard. I'm kind of losing my mind. This rant is really long. And anyways, all of that is to say that this was actually all secretly built up for the real section of the Rant that matters. That's right. A character so bad in their eyes that it was a final nail in the coffin for Lalaloopsy. A character who they believe was responsible for being the final blow. And just to prime you guys, this is going to be such a long section of some of the greatest writing of all time. So I am not going to stop or do anything. I'm just going to read it verbatim and give my analysis at the end, because you are about to go in one of the most insane rants I've ever seen. The most pure hatred you could ever imagine. Get ready for Storm E. Sky. Now, I know a lot of 8-year-olds or shippers are going to cry or rage over this, but shut up. I do not care how much you love and jerk off to Stormy Sky, and I don't care how much you worship her and think she's so radical and cool, bro. XD. You chose to read this, by the way. Stormy Sky, where to begin? Where to start? Well, let's start with why I think she ended the franchise. Because she represents what Lalaloopsy isn't. It is supposed to be a cutesy show and is unique from the crowd. What made Lalaloopsy great was that it stood out from the other girly shows. I know it can be enjoyed by everyone, but I'll class it as a girl show for now. Other girl shows never had magic as stuff Lalaloopsy had a story and a premise which we'll probably never see again in any modern media. Dare I say it's probably the best franchise involving ragdolls that's child-friendly, of course, which makes Lalaloopsy so great. Now we have Lalaloopsy obvious reasons. However, this all changed after the junior series ended and got canceled. The show lost the magical element which made the original actually good and unique, and now it's just one of those glorified slices of life girly shows. One character who's to blame for Lalaloopsy that is easily Stormy Sky, and you can tell me I'm wrong, crying, sending hate comments. Oh, gee, you disrespect the Stormy Sky again? Yeah, okay, you want it to be this, let me speak by 1,000. You can't accept my opinion, then go screw off and go cry your story all over. One example I can think of is besides her stubborn and tomboyish behaviors and everything she's been in is flop. Simply because she's bringing down the franchise. Why? Because in every show or tool line she's been involved in is flop. Lalaloopsy girls heavily advertised Stormy, and she was a main character, flop. Or with the 2021 revival is heavily showing out Stormy Sky, flop. Or what about the reboot in it, so then like guys who never even see this flop coming, it flopped. Every time Stormy is heavily advertised, she brings down the franchise. She's literally the Godzilla of Lalaloopsy. Every time she shows her face, no matter if she's good or trying to do good, she brings down the destruction in her way. But to journalists, because that is actually cool and is a pretty cool. And that's her cat and there's real. And the second reason I hate her. Now this may be controversial because she's like, you were the brown girls. Oh my god, people like Stormy Sky, they're deaf for extremely intelligent because man, she's a bum. Is she the worst character ever? No, that's nowhere close. But that's like comparing my scrap to Alpha Crap. One is larger and less than the other, but both are crap at the end of the day. How bad is she? Well, first of all, she's a stubborn bum. Literally, she's enemies Jewel, and the whole rally starts because Jewel doesn't like what Stormy does, and vice versa. Definitely have heard of all like that before. I think about it, Stormy's the one wrong entirely. Great, Jewel also did that thing, but Stormy literally started all. And what she does, she just pranks and bullies and mocks Jewel entirely. Seriously, Stormy, how much can a bum can you be? And then not to mention she's so reckless and probably doesn't care about her cat. In the very first scene, she's already upset that reputation for her. She literally nearly ran over and killed Spawn in the first scene, by the way. That's like introducing main character and nearly dropped an ankle on a newborn baby. And the worst part, she never apologizes whatsoever. And what's more responsible, she doesn't care about cat whatsoever. She let the cat drive. It shows how responsible she is. And she was responsible to let her cat just run away and let get another cat pregnant. Unless Jewel's more concerned of her cat and she does at least more care about it. Yeah, she shouts at cat out of nowhere, but if I was a cat, I'd yell at her for no reason to begin the task. Drive a freaking vehicle. And it's also known that she has no influence in the reboot either. So Stormy's yelling a little animal drive. She's responsible in so many ways. Plus the cat's nearly never trained before. It's clearly not experienced in untrained house cat. And also friendly around the Lalaloopsy, they produce adults. A freaking adult is letting a cat drive, but she nearly causes death from innocent person and destruction of property. And people like her because I don't know, but considering most people like her unless you're young children, I have no argument to justify why I think the show makes sense. I've seen Nick Jr. and Lalaloopsy fans are older and more mature, and that's saying a lot. Not only that, the Stormy Sky barely faces consequences of what she does is extremely force, and what I think makes no kind of sense is that she nearly kills someone, got away with it. Later on, she does something mild, everyone hates her. Finally, remind people like this show, because like, I see, watch this, and no, I'm not joking. Stormy's consequence scenes, everyone hated her, maybe she didn't show up to spots or show wherever the heck it was. After setting for force itself, totally voiced second word Lalaloopsy. After you want to leave, everyone just magically switches towards her, and you can cry and roll on the floor. All you like that is definitely bad writing, but I'll get more onto that in a bit. All I'm saying is that no mind yapping and rambling is convinced me that Stormy Sky's a good character. Now, sure, main characters have their flaws, and Stormy Sky becomes better in the end, but I don't lose her redemption because of plot convenience. But the big reason why she's such a main character, and she just wants to force her friend so much. And the main character, she's not the main character. She fits Lalaloopsy as much as a girl, trained girls, and she doesn't have. Stormy Sky's like she really never worked. She sits down and she's not the main character. She shows everyone else has nothing. Like she doesn't start without the person. I'm Lalaloopsy. No, that Stormy Sky's role pointless. She Lalaloopsy people know Lalaloopsy's characters. I question Lalaloopsy plays music musicians, big main character. Yeah, Lalaloopsy's fifth dimension. Want to make another musician character? We have harmony, B sharp, no strings, keys or sticks. All those characters don't act more mature, more responsible. Stormy Sky also 14 years old. See how characters don't think Lalaloopy and Lalaloopy is the same role. Which is invalid. Tell me, name one character that has an identical role. Lalaloopy can't perform that. Which one character story doesn't play? That's when it comes to story identical role. It's Stormy Sky and Lalaloopy that's all operating. Wrong until that night. Stormy Sky's original pointless. She's irreparable pointless. And just because well, she's no story and Lalaloopsy. Does that character the story? No. I want to brand story. Whatever. Everyone sees to be not to go main characters so short stories. Everyone knows the stories. Don't get story short because it's a double favorite character. Stormy Sky have little context story. It's not interesting. Well, story stuff because little context. I think it's care about her. Her story that she's moved from multiple times to natural functions out of people realize she complains about no control that whatsoever. We get barely information on her side of the story, and then it's for us to care. And now Stormy gives nothing to the character we care for. It's like I don't know. It's not no story in every answer. Let's say Stormy from the story was completely removed. We never see her from her, which actually care and beyond. But anyone cares Stormy Sky Lalaloopy So yeah, I mean, I think that was just one of the greatest pieces of writing I've ever read in my entire life. I don't even know what I could possibly add. By the way, that whitewashing slash racism section he's talking about, yeah, it's only like a third of the length of the Stormy Sky section. So yeah, this guy's got his priorities straight. But yeah, I mean, the review just goes on, and at the end, obviously, the score he gives is pretty awful. So the real question is basically, do I agree? And this is where I have to have a confession. I'm not a Lalaloopsy super fan. In fact, I've literally never watched an episode. I don't know if that was obvious or not, but yeah. So I don't really have a judgment to pass on this one. So overall, I'm just gonna have to conclude and say, I don't know, maybe. Just kidding. Obviously, I can't just end it off on that. I have to give this guy's opinion 100% respect. After all, with such good writing, I need to understand whether what he's saying is actually true or not. And the only way I can do that is if I watch every single episode of Lalaloopsy. And I'm talking about literally all of them. Every single episode, every single Nick Jr. episode, every single one of the Netflix series, and probably even the movies. So, yeah. That might take me a long time. So I'm going to go do that and come back. Dude, I just spent like the last 2 days watching Lalaloopsy straight. My brain is numb. I literally dreamed about Lalaloopsy. I'm looking at all the pictures I use, and I actually understand all the characters and all their personalities and jobs and everything and motivations. It's actually ridiculous. I understand everything now. It's wild, and I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I only watched one episode of the Netflix one for a reason I'll get to in a bit. But the question is, after watching all of the Nick Jr. series and the webisodes, was this guy spitting or not? And let me tell you, everything he said was 100% factual. So in order to just preface my opinion of why I pretty much agree with this person exactly, I'll just explain my experience watching the show. I did it completely ironically, and I didn't think I'd enjoy a single second of it. But after watching some of the webisodes, I realized that Lalaloopsy actually has a pretty cozy aesthetic with all of the knit yarn. It's almost like Kirby's Epic yarn. It's very cozy and comfortable. And the webisodes were not very in-depth, but they were somewhat enjoyable. But as soon as I got to the Nick Jr. series, I realized that the show is actually really detailed and really creative. Each of the characters have very in-depth personalities. I mean, and they kind of like can fill different roles. Like Peanut was a good example. Peanut Big Top is kind of the circus performer, and a lot of people need to use her gadgets or trampolines or cannons for various things, and she just kind of fulfills the role of the entertainment. And her entire house is built out of circus-related things, little details like that. And it's a good combination of a bunch of different types of Lalaloopsies that kind of make this cohesive societal structure. And because of that, I was actually like really enjoying my time, and I realized this is a very detailed, creative show. And I already kind of could tell that, oh shoot, the Netflix one is probably gonna botch it. So 26 episodes in, after there's 52 episodes of Nick Jr., I said, okay, let me watch the 13 Netflix ones right now. And so I did. I started with one, and basically 2 minutes in, I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. It was like a Gacha Life video. The animation was horrible. The characters were so immature. There was no context for anything. And I realized everything he said in his review was right. When he was talking about Stormy Sky having no context for her actions, she actually didn't. She literally just showed up, and then she was like, we gotta keep moving, Cat, for like no reason. We didn't even know anything about her. And the characters were just so annoying, and there was none of that creative or working together. And that had this stupid Netflix writing where they say everything and all their motivations out loud. There was none of the subtlety of the original show. I couldn't believe it, but like, I was actually enthralled. And I actually 100% agreed with this person, which I didn't take seriously at all before. I kind of just thought his entire review was a joke and decided to watch the show as a joke, but it's kind of crazy. And I have so much more to say, or I guess I could say about the show and about why I hated We Are Lalaloopsy and everything. But honestly, I have more to think about the concept of me not taking this person seriously just using was a laugh. And then later realizing, oh my God, I've sat in the same shoes as this guy. I've walked in the same footsteps, and I've experienced the same traumatic experience. I don't know if I'm ever going to watch anything on Netflix again. The pure rage I felt at that first episode made me never want to watch any of them, the rest of them. I knew I wouldn't enjoy it. And maybe I judged it too fast, but when you're literally screaming at the screen in anger, I mean, like, you just can't move on. So, yeah, that was my experience. I don't really know why I did this. This was kind of crazy, but I guess I learned something that, you can find things funny sometimes, even if the person genuinely is expressing their serious thoughts and their serious concerns about something. And now I genuinely take his review seriously, and I don't find it as funny as I did before. It's pretty ridiculous, but with that, I guess I'll conclude. I'll have to take all the knowledge of the show that I've amassed to my grave. Things like how Jules Sparkles is actually a master organizer and keeps the whole city together. That Spot Splatter Splash has like the most abstract thinking and doesn't really do well at stringent tasks. That Crumb Sugar Cookie is actually sort of a construction person because a lot of their houses are made out of food and so many other details. But you know what? It doesn't matter. The one thing is that I hope that guy who wrote this post maybe sees this and realizes that he's not alone, and what he thought was actually 100% true. And even if he's not being taken seriously, that there's someone out there who actually agrees 100% wholeheartedly with this passion about this seemingly bizarre and silly topic.